Well, hello there, Gumshoes. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Greatest Gumshoe podcast. We are so happy you're here. We're going to cover a lot this episode, so make sure you've gotten caught up with episodes 1 through 4 so you don't miss out on any of the pivotal case details. Episode 5 marks the rough halfway point for this season, so stick around at the end of the show to hear how to submit your theory and solve the case. If you're the first to guess correctly and solve the case, you'll be crowned the Greatest Gumshoe, and we'll send you a cool prize. In the meantime, we are so excited to introduce our very first sponsor, a brand new service called Killer Trace. Killer Trace is a subscription box that delivers a complete cold case to your door every month. This includes police reports, evidence, crime scene photos, clues, and more. Along with your subscription box, you will get free access to InFile, their case management system, which allows you to track your case, send evidence to the lab, run fingerprints, and request search warrants or even traffic videos. Each case lasts just 3 months, and you'll complete your investigation by presenting your evidence to the judge. If your detective skills are sharp enough, the killer will end up in custody. All the cases are fictional, but Killer Trace makes the experience seem real. Go to www.killertrace.com to order your first box. If you do, use our code GGS2018 to get 15% off. You can follow them on Instagram at Killer Trace. They post a lot of interesting and creepy stuff, so they're worth a follow. Now, back to the show. We are still working really hard to solve the fictional death of Mariah Collins. So far, we've talked to her roommate Lily, her parents, and Richard Warren, the truck driver who found her body. Each of these interviews really gave us a sense of who Mariah was, and each one is getting us closer to where we can solve the case. Last week, we asked you guys who you wanted to hear from next, and it was an astounding, unanimous vote of Spencer Boyd, Mariah's ex-boyfriend. So that's what we have for you guys today. Detective Savage got Spencer's contact info from Lily, Mariah's roommate. It took a while for Detective Savage to get in touch with him. He was able to track him down on Friday, October 7th at his residence. He told Detective Savage that he'd have to get a new phone and number after the storm, as his had bit the dust. Spencer agreed to an interview and so far has been compliant with all of Detective Savage's requests. From the interview, we learned that Spencer last spoke to Mariah on the day she evacuated, August 27th. He claims that they spoke on the phone that morning, but that he hadn't seen her for several days before that. Although the two had been broken up for a while, they remained friends and socialized often. Detective Savage asked a good many questions about their relationship, which Spencer answers, stating that they had met when Mariah first moved to the area and started working at Maribel's, a local seafood restaurant. After a month or so of working, Mariah left Maribel's to work at Pop's. Around this time is when she and Spencer started dating. Spencer says that Mariah met his family and friends and everyone liked her, though some of his friends certainly viewed her as goody-goody, a theme that was also present in Lily's interview. When asked what caused their breakup, Spencer stated that Mariah seemed to want to get serious and settle down, and she didn't think she could do any of that if they were both servers. Throughout the interview, Spencer admits that he felt Mariah wanted too much from him, and that she was trying to change him even. This seems to have really stirred up some resentments in their relationship. Spencer seemed to feel like Mariah was trying to force him to do something he didn't want to do and go back to school. He said that was her dream and not his. He stated Mariah did want to go back to school and had plans to pursue something in culinary arts or restaurant management. As they wrap up the interview, Detective Savage asked about Spencer's evacuation from the city and where he went afterward. He stated he went to stay with an aunt in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Detective Savage ends the interview stating that he would keep in touch. We've already spoken to Spencer's aunt in Mississippi. She confirmed that he evacuated to her home and stayed there for several days before the roads were clear enough to return to Louisiana. She's not very close with her nephew, but she said he seemed perfectly normal while they weathered the storm together. After the interview, Detective Savage notes that Spencer seems fidgety and sad, though he won't comment on whether this makes the ex-boyfriend seem guilty or simply distraught. People are unpredictable when it comes to grief, and Spencer had some time to process Mariah's death before Detective Savage was able to reach him for questioning. That's all we have from the interview today, folks, but keep an eye out on social media this week to read it at length. You never know, there might be some information that might be helpful in solving this case. This week, we're also looking into Mariah's diary a bit. For those of you who may not remember, this is the journal that Mariah left behind in her apartment when she evacuated. We had some listener requests to have a peek inside, so that's part of what we're doing today. Overall, it seems that Mariah wrote in her diary pretty sporadically. Some entries are weeks or months apart, and some entries are very short, only a line or two. We'll be posting a collection of excerpts from the journal on the blog. But for now, here's some entries that stood out to me. Overall, it seems like Mariah's journal lines up with what we've learned about her so far. When she first moved to Kenner, she seemed excited to be on her own and get out from under her parents' thumb. But after only a few weeks, she shifts to complaining about her living arrangement with Lily. In her diary, she says, "I feel so stuck and lonely. I was hoping that having a roommate would make this big change more fun, but all Lily wants to do is party. I thought we had so much in common before we moved in together. We used to have so much fun hanging out, but now it's like she's avoiding me." Most of the entries that mention Lily groan about late rent, loud guests, and feeling isolated. It's obvious that the two were having problems, but nothing sticks out as more than typical roommate squabbles. A few entries talk about her work at Pops or her co-workers. Most of the other waitresses at Pops appear to be older, and Mariah seems a little afraid of spending her whole life as a server. The other servers are sweet, but they're in their 40s. They've got kids and grandkids. We have nothing in common, and it's driving me a little crazy. They want to mother me, but I don't need another mother. I need to figure out my own life. A life that doesn't involve working at Pops until the day I die. Mariah also mentions a particular regular at Pops who's always left her good tips. The regular seems to be a man, but she doesn't mention him by name. She does allude to Spencer being a little jealous of another guy who is holding her attention. He calls the customer a weirdo, but Mariah doesn't seem threatened by the guy. Still, this may be a lead worth pursuing when we talk to Mariah's coworkers or boss. The last thing I want to point out about Mariah's diary is its sporadic coverage of her relationship with Spencer. At times she seems thrilled with him. She even gushes over how he'd show up during her shift just to say hi or wait around until she got off work, but other times she's clearly frustrated. There are several mentions of fights and arguments. In her journal she writes, "Another fight with Spencer. He's so sensitive and complacent. All I said was that he should look into these colleges with me. I'm so tired of being a waitress, and I want him to want something better too. He's totally unmotivated though. He told me to stop nagging him about it, so I'm giving him the silent treatment for now." Mariah never seems fearful or concerned about Spencer. The two seem to be on completely different pages though. Mariah is focused on her future, while Spencer seems content just to keep things the same. This causes tension, which eventually drives the two apart. Mariah tries to distance herself from Spencer after the breakup to get some space. She ignores his calls and tells him to leave when he shows up at Pops during her shift, but he's persistent. Part of her seems to like the attention, but she also tells Lily to lie for her when Spencer shows up unannounced at their apartment one day. This is really just a quick overview of what Mariah's journal had to offer. You'll find more excerpts on our website, so be on the lookout for that post in the next couple of days. Next week, we plan to travel over to Pops to get a sense of what Mariah's work life may have been like. We'll be posting polls on social media this week to see if you'd rather hear from Mariah's co-workers or her boss, George Broom. As usual, those polls will be on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so keep an eye out. Or you can submit questions you'd like us to ask in a second interview with someone we've already talked to. Still got questions for Lily, the roommate? Need clarification on things from Richard Warren? Let us know. You are in control. So that brings us to this week's question and answer portion of the show. You guys delivered this week. Remember, if you ask a question on social media, we might feature you on the show. First up this week are questions from Katie. Does Mariah's ex work, and if so, where? It's not with Richard Warren's company, is it? Interesting guess, but no. Spencer doesn't work for a trucking company. He's a server for Mirabo Seafood there in Kenner. Next up, did Spencer and Mariah get the dog together? No, they did not. Hector, our currently missing in action pup, was solely Mariah's. She got him shortly after moving to Kenner. It does seem like Spencer tolerated the dog pretty well. Next up, we have questions from Marge. Why did Mariah have a pregnancy test? Was it used? Was she pregnant by Spencer? Well, Miss Marge, you certainly have a keen eye. Gumshoes, you may remember that we recently posted pictures of Mariah's room. If you looked really closely at that evidence, you might spy a pregnancy test in one of the photos. So let's break this down a little. Yes, there was a pregnancy test box. Yes, it was used. There was no actual test left in the box. Yes, it was used by Mariah. Now, the autopsy report findings did not indicate that Mariah was pregnant when she was found, so it does seem that this was a precautionary test. Moving forward some, we have questions from Kayla. Could Hector the dog have gotten loose and been adopted by or taken in by someone after the chaos of Katrina? That is certainly in the realm of possibility. Hector wasn't microchipped, so it's not easy for us to say where he currently is. Personally, I like to think he's warm and cozy with a new family, but so far we've no evidence leading to his whereabouts. And lastly, we have a question from Trey. I'm noticing that everyone is mentioning her boss a lot. How old was he? George Broom is 57 years old. He's a Kenner native and has been running his restaurant for almost 30 years. That's it for today, Gumshoes. Remember, stop by social media and vote for which direction we should go next week and who we should talk to. Also remember, the contest portion of the show is open. If you've cracked the case, email us at greatestgumshoe@gmail.com with the suspect, means, motive, and timeline. If you're right, there is a prize in it for you. But don't rush, you only get one shot and there is still plenty of time. We hope you've been enjoying your investigations. If you have, be sure to tell a friend, tag us on social media, and leave us a review. It truly does mean a lot. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Greatest Gumshoe. We also have a website where we post case updates and new clues. The address is readaboutajobwixsite.com/Greatest Gumshoe. We've also linked our website through all of our social media, so if you're already a follower, just follow the link on our profile page. Once you've checked out the website, make sure to subscribe to the blog. That way you'll know when we drop new episodes and post new evidence. That's it for now. See you later, Gumshoes!